And welcome back to Who Would Win. Today's Who Would Win comes to us from my girlfriend, who decided to give us a request. She doesn't like to be named on camera, just a bit of a stigma for it, but she has. And that's fine, but she did. It's okay for me to say my girlfriend. My girlfriend asked the question, who will win in the fight? Kenpachi or Rocky, the 11th captain from Bleach, and one of the strongest characters in the series, quite frankly, versus the Incredible Hulk. Now, you should note several things with both these, with the Hulk. And that is, A, we're not using the MCU Hulk because the MCU Hulk's full capabilities have really never been demonstrated. I mean, we know how strong and durable the Hulk is, but compared to, like we've never seen him do, like, the 1 billion ton mountain lifting feat, or, like, literally smack a god around. The strongest, like, feat we've seen strength-wise of the Incredible Hulk from the Marvel Universe, or MCU, is punching that Leviathan, which is insanely impressive, but that everything else is just kind of, okay, it's impressive, but it's just not, like, we know it's not the full capabilities that the MCU Hulk is showing us, and we're just going by what the MCU Hulk is showing us. Zaraki would beat the living shit out of that Hulk. Also, while I will address what would happen if he fought World Breaker Hulk, we will, because like I said, I'll address a World Breaker Hulk fight, but in the fight we're going to be breaking these guys down into, you're probably not going to see Hulk go in the World Breaker. Now, the reason for that is actually, hear me out on this, in the entire World War Hulk storyline, you know, Hulk was pissed off. He was also intelligent at that point, too. Seriously pissed off, and he was getting more angrier and angrier and angrier. Didn't go in the World Breaker Hulk. He fought Sentry, for God's sake. Literally, Sentry forced him into Bruce Banner. That's how badly Sentry beat him down. Granted, he beat the Sentry down into his form, too. But still, he beat the Hulk down into Bruce Banner. Didn't turn to World Breaker Hulk. It took the revelation that one of his trusted comrades had basically arranged it so his wife and son would be killed for him to snap and go in the World Breaker. That's the type of catalyst that would cause World Breaker Hulk to kind of show up. Now, in theory, could he eventually hit World Breaker Hulk even on his own without the emotional anger or catalyst? Yeah, I think it's possible. It's just not very likely because, let's be honest, we've only seen World Breaker Hulk the one time. So I will address World Breaker Hulk versus Kenpachi for a minute. But what we're really going to be looking at is just the modern incarnation of the Hulk versus Kenpachi Zaraki. So going over the Hulk, obviously it's Bruce Banner turns to the Hulk. The Hulk, in terms of physical abilities, is one of the strongest MCU characters physically, period. Strength-wise, he has lifted a 100 billion ton mountain. Not without effort on his part, mind you, but he's lifted a 1 billion ton mountain. He can go toe-to-toe regularly with heavy hitters like Juggernaut, Hercules, Thanos. He can go toe-to-toe no problem. Speed-wise, well, he's not a speedster, like he's not Quicksilver, Flash kind of, or even like, or Sentry. He's not a speedster per se, he's certainly very quick, and he's got good reflexes. Be honest, his reflexes actually are a little, they are a little bit of one of the few physical things that aren't his strongest suit. Hulk's reflexes. I thought I looked up everything, but let me actually, reflexes. Hulk's reflexes. How good are Hulk's reflexes? There we go. Let's see what Colin has to say about that real quick. Yeah, we all have a couple reflexes and find some quantifiable class feats. Yeah, I mean, everything I'm saying. Okay, he has like caught Quicksilver, but Quicksilver doesn't move at light speed or anything like that. Neither is Zaraki, to be fair. But yeah, he's Hulk speed. He does have good reflexes. Just compared to his other physical feats, it's actually probably his weakest feat, which is impressive. Hulk also has insane durability. Now, when I compare him to Zaraki later on, this is actually something that's very interesting. And I'll say it for right now, but I'll go into it when we talk about Zaraki, is that these two actually have, oddly enough, similar levels of durability. And what I mean by that is, small arms fire isn't going to hurt either of these guys very much. Heavy arms like 50 cal or above might graze them and hurt them mildly, but they'll be fine overall. Missiles, explosions, that will hurt them to a degree. That will hurt them to some degree. Honestly, it's weird. They actually have very comparable levels of durability. Now, Hulk, that being said, has been at the point-blank epicenter of a nuclear explosion, lost his skin, and it quickly grew back. That is one thing, and again, I'll talk more about it when we go to Zaraki. If their durability is on a relatively on par level with each other, what Hulk makes up for it that Kenpachi doesn't have is a insanely massive healing factor. Like, his healing factor is quite possibly higher than even Wolverine's, and that's saying a lot. At minimum, it's on par, but it's quite possibly stronger than Wolverine's. Hulk has regrown his freaking head. Like, he's had his head chopped. Hulk won't let Bruce Banner die. That's the thing. Hulk won't let Bruce Banner die if he can stop it. Because, they're basically sharing the same body. But he can regrow limbs. He's regrown his head. Now, granted, his brain wasn't sliced up, damaged. So it's arguable to say that if you could severely damage his brain, that might be a hindrance to it. It's kind of like Wolverine. His healing factor comes from his brainstem. If you damage his brainstem, you might actually legitimately kill Wolverine. It's similar with the Hulk. That if you could probably damage his brain, because in the comic where he got his head cut off, his head was cut clean off. His brain was still there, though. So in theory, I think what probably happens is because his brain was still there, his consciousness was still there, and therefore a new head grew out of that. Instead of the head being completely incinerated, and there you go. And of course, strength-wise, it's pointless to say how strong the Hulk is. Now, obviously, the biggest thing with the Hulk is his anger, as Death Battle kind of showed, his endorphins keep going. Now, as normal humans, we can only produce so many of those endorphins to keep us going. But the Hulk's healing factor allows him to keep doing that. Which actually, it explains, so I can put it, why he reverts back to Banner after his healing factor has been taxed by extremely powerful things like Sentry or like the All-Father, individuals like that. And therein lies a way you can take out the Hulk, is by overtaxing his healing factor. Now, to be fair, in World War Hulk, when he went back to Banner, when he got angry again, he immediately went back to, okay, I'm good to go again, Hulk. So if you were to somehow revert him to Banner, and, you still wanted to fight him, you got to take him out quick. Otherwise, Hulk will come back out. But the Hulk, for all of his power, is not invincible. Noteworthy. Not the term I was looking for. Point of fact is that when you look at Hulk's Rogues Gallery himself, you have the Abomination, okay, a guy who's on base level stronger than the Hulk. Like when the Hulk transforms, Abomination's stronger than the Hulk. Hulk just ultimately ends up getting stronger than Abomination. The leader, it's a matter of mind versus might. Doc Samson, his strength comes from his hair. Individuals who can absorb energy are a problem for the Hulk because they can absorb his gamma radiation. Now, granted, he has so much of it that it takes someone with immense capabilities to absorb it. Individuals like Thor could knock the Hulk out by, Mjolnir, things along those lines. Should know, Hulk is another feat of strength. Hulk is one of the few individuals who can literally lift Mjolnir with sheer physical might, because Mjolnir is forged from a dying star. So yeah, that's Hulk is strongest there is, at least by his own metric of measurement. Kenpachi Zaraki, the Kenpachi from Zaraki, 11th captain, or captain of the 11th division. Probably one of my favorite characters in Bleach. So I'm going to try to not make this Kenpachi wank fest right now, but I'm going to gush a little bit. I love Kenpachi. Who doesn't love the demon Kenpachi himself? Kenpachi is literally described multiple times as a monster of a man. He is literally a man who lives for the thrill of the fight, who literally gets almost like physically aroused by combat. In terms of physical abilities and all that, he's in terms of raw power, there is no character stronger than Kenpachi. In terms of just raw, unadulterated power. There are characters stronger overall than Kenpachi in this series. Yawak was stronger. I'm sure Ichibe's technically stronger. Urahara's much smarter. Aizen's Ryatsu levels, his spiritual energy, is higher than He's Rockies only because of, the shit he pulled. Yamamoto probably was still stronger than Kenpachi. But ultimately, I mean, when you're talking about an individual who was just a sheer powerhouse of destruction, Kenpachi can't really be matched. I mean, physically speaking, let's get over his physicality now. Strength-wise, while nowhere near the Hulk in terms of strength, I'll say that right up front. The Hulk physically outmatches Kenpachi in pure strength. He does. But that's not to say Kenpachi doesn't have enough super strength to at least compete mildly with the Hulk. He's shown multiple times to take on huge-ass individuals on his own. Literally, he fought a character known as Gerard Valkyrie, whose ability essentially was known as the Miracle, but really what it was a megamorph ability, where any damage he took, his body grew in strength and size. He eventually became so tall that he was, that he was taller than any of the buildings around him. And it was even stated by another captain that if he fell from the height, because they were up top on like this floating city area, if he fell from height, he would wipe out the entire Sarate, which is stated to be, it's never stated how large the Sarate is. It's depicted as the size of an extremely large city. It said it would take 10 days to walk across it. Now, that can be described as basically, actually, you know what? Honestly, seriously, you can, I'm trying to remember the name of, New York State, and, okay. This is a weird scale of metric of scale. But if the size is true of what they're depicting, in Crocodile Dundee, stay with me here. What's her name? Crocodile Dundee. The woman's name. She stated that you can walk across New York State in a certain amount of time, a certain amount of days. And I think it was less than 10. And it's bugging me, the actual quote. I want to find that quote, but I'll keep going while I'm looking for the quote. If IMDb still does quotes. Do they still do the quotes on here? I remember when they would do. Oh, there's the quotes. Okay. Mix, because he talks about mixed place. Oh, it's not that big. You can walk across it in 2, 3, or 4 days. Okay. Well, give me one. I want to find that quote because it's actually a really good metric of size for the Sarate, weirdly enough. I'm sorry. I'm looking at all these quotes. I'm like, I gotta watch Crocodile Dundee again. Okay. Mick's place is not very big. Okay. Where is Mick? Mick Dundee. Michael J. Crocodile Dundee. Now where is the name of that? Where is that quote? Do they even have the quote on here? I know I'm wasting time right now, and it's really bugging me. Damn it! I'll have to rewatch that movie again to get that quote. I know it's not. So roughly speaking, the Sarate is at minimum probably larger than New York State. So, where was I going with that statement right now? Wow, why did I even go? Wow, I just completely lost track of that. I was measuring the size of this. I'm trying to reel myself back into this. Durability. So I was talking about his physicality. Okay, yeah, Gerard Valkyrie falling on there. So basically, the Sarate is roughly speaking probably a little larger. Maybe not even a little. A decent amount larger than New York State as a whole. So the fact that they could wipe that out is very, and that Kenpachi literally just grabbed him and heaved him up like that is no small feat whatsoever. The fact is he can also catch blades bare hand, all of that. He can tank energy blast to his hand. As I said previously, his durability is actually similar to the Hulk's. No joke. Because yes, we see him get cut plenty of times, but that's by spiritually inclined individuals who are also super powered. We actually have a character in the series who is able to imagine anything they want. And imagine, God knows how much automatic fire going against him. Didn't phase him at all. Like, scuffed him a little bit. He literally cut missiles in half. He literally had bombs go off in front of him. And literally cut a meteor in half, which that's going to be a severe feat we'll get to. He has torn his arms off multiple times in the same day, well, actually, one time he tore his arm off. The other time it just broke because of his own power. It was so much. And in the same day, and he kept going like it was nothing. The biggest difference, honestly, between these two when it comes to their durability and, how much they can take is the fact that Hulk has a regenerative healing factor. Kenpachi just takes it and keeps going. If anything, Kenpachi actually has a much higher pain tolerance than the Hulk does. Because Hulk just gets angrier and angrier the more he gets hurt, whereas Kenpachi just revels in it. It's like he's got a heart on half the time. And then, again, endurance, that's not really going to matter. These guys can keep going all day, all night. Master Swordsman, obviously. Physical strength, we've already gone over. And then we have to talk about two big aspects here. Well, one big aspect, but quickly his speed. While he doesn't know the flash step as far as we know he can move at similar speeds because in the anime and even in the manga, we've seen him actually disappear from eyesight, like in a fight. So he can clearly move at super speeds. But there's a big thing we got to get over when talking about Kenpachi, and that's his energy output, his Ryatsu, his Reishi, if you well, not Reishi. Reishi is what makes up like the Soul Society. Ryatsu, your spiritual energy, is what they have in terms of like their energy abilities or just their physical energy of their body or spiritual in this case. Kenpachi has so much energy that he has to seal it away. And even sealing away, he's able to compete with two other individuals at the same rank as him and beat them pretty soundly. His energy is so great, it actually affects the area, like the actual spiritual area that he's in. And the Soul Society, Serite, it's a spirit world. It's designed to take that kind of energy, and his energy still affects the world around him. It should note, because this fight will have to take place in the real world, that Kenpachi will be at full capacity. He's not going to have a seal on him. Gente Kaijo, I believe it's called. When captains and lieutenant class individuals, the highest class individuals, go into the real world, they actually have to limit their power output because it can negatively affect the real world. They get suppressed to like 80% of their actual power. And Kenpachi is probably one of the individuals who needs it the most because we've seen a little bit of what happens when you put a severely high spiritual pressure individual in the real world with Aizen. Other weaker individuals started to just evaporate in his presence. Like Kenpachi would negatively affect the world if he went full power in the real world. But the question actually is, how much energy does Kenpachi have? How much can he output? Because it's staggering how much energy he really has. And there's not really an effective way to go about measuring it. However, I did something that I almost never do because I normally have enough information on these characters to do it regardless. I actually went and did a little bit of research on like the meteor feat because, and we're already at 18 minutes. I really haven't even got to the fight. The fight with Kenpachi and Greg when he summoned the meteor is kind of telling you how much energy Kenpachi sort of has because his Shikai, his sword transformed, is your Zanpakuto is a reflection of yourself. His sword is basically a giant sheer power cutting machine. It burst through a meteorite. It literally cut through a separate dimension, which I know people are going to bring that up to. That punch to the negative zone. Yeah, well, Kenpachi cut through space itself. So equal feats right there. Because it was essentially Grammy made a separate dimension is what he did, and Kenpachi cut through that. But because it's a reflection of him, what my theory anyway is, it's a reflection of him. It's sealed. It's a reflection of him without his full power, because it's a Shikai, whereas his Bankai is a reflection of his full power compressed into his body. And to know what his energy output probably is, we have to know how big the meteor was that came down and is going to wipe out the Serite, what power it was exhibiting, and then how much power would have taken to stop and destroy that meteor. And now, while I tried to figure it out, the best I could come up with that it takes, first off, the meteor probably would have wiped out not just the Serite, but the Soul Society itself. Like, that was more than likely an extinction level event meteor. And the reason for that is the sheer size of it. And let's actually go with the New York State, size of New York State. Size of New York State. Let's go with the New York State comparison real quick. New York State is a roughly 54,556 miles long, and the Serete is allegedly larger than this. And according to, at least going by the image, the meteor took up, roughly speaking, about a quarter of the Serete, maybe a little above, so anywhere between a quarter and a third. We'll for the sake of Kenpachi, we'll highball it at a third. That means that a third of this, that means that meteor, hypothetically speaking, was somewhere in the neighborhood of, if I'm looking at this right, about 18,000 miles long? Square miles. Okay, 18 square miles. Sorry, this is the area. Let me get a length here at its longest. Length of New York State. I'm about to say, it's like, that can't be right. Length of New York State at its longest. Yeah, okay. Oh, well, no, they're still giving me total area. Oh, length. Okay, there we go. Okay. 330 miles. Okay, nowhere near as bad. However, a third of that would be 110 miles long, which I looked up what the size of an asteroid or meteor would have to be to basically wipe out the Earth. It would just have to be 6 to 9 miles long. That's how big that meteor allegedly. Now, I'm probably not right in that, because let's be clear, scaling that picture probably isn't accurate. But you can find the picture. It's not that hard. I could have put it up here, but I just didn't feel like it. But still, if assuming that is accurate enough, the minimum amount to destroy the planet Earth is probably around 10 to 32 joules. Minimum. And if an asteroid, it has to be about 6 to 9 miles to wipe out the Earth, more or less. Maybe not destroy Earth, but mass extinction it. I mean, scaling that up, that means Kenpachi, hypothetical, and I'm just going hypotheticals right now, had to have been exhibiting something like, I can't even begin to do the math on this. If someone wants to try to do the math on it, go ahead. I'm going to give a rough estimate here. He was probably exhibiting somewhere along the lines of at least 10 times the amount it would take to actually destroy the Earth, because you have to factor in the momentum and the force that it was going to impact the Serete on. Now you may be asking, how is it a planetary wiping event? The Solar Society is essentially just Earth in a different dimension. It's at the same size in comparison to Earth. And yeah, if it was it seemed like it was going to be, based on the numbers we know, it takes 10 miles to walk across the Serete. Serete is probably larger than New York State at its longest, assuming that's the case. And therefore, and if a meteor was that large and how much it takes, kind of all factors in. Kenpachi with one arm blows this meteor out of the water. That means Kenpachi is capable of exhibiting this much energy. He blows it up with one swing, and it probably wasn't even his maximum power with that swing, even with his eye patch on. He then proceeds to cut through space, get blown up, and get a giant bomb explode in his face. He's already damaged from being in space, yet he keeps ticking no matter what. Because he had to be subjected to the vacuum of space, where the guy even says, oh, your blood's going to boil and freeze all at once. And he just cuts through, is that all you got? Then later on, he gets his Bankai, which turns him into a freaking Kishin of all things, an Oni, and he just literally fights the dude who was the size of a skyscraper, who throws a punch that probably could have literally wiped out God knows how much. He catches it with his bare teeth, rips his arm out of his socket, cuts him in half, cuts the shield that was durable enough to survive his Shikai in half. And he just keeps going. The only thing that stopped him was the fact he wasn't used to his power, therefore it broke his arm. Kenpachi's a freaking madman. So yeah, let's get down to this fight after God knows how long of me ranting about Kenpachi and the Hulk. Hell, Hulk, actually, these guys got about equal times rants now that I think about it. So this fight would break down. Kenpachi is in the real world, probably looking for some hollows, whatever. It's like, oh, this is so stupid. Why am I here? It's like, what's that? And then, just the Hulk is just going nuts. Maybe fighting him. I was like, you look pretty strong. Hulk, no. Hulk don't care about Spiky Man. Spiky Man. Oh, you mean was that a knock in my hair or something? Look, I'm looking for Hollins, but you'll do just nicely. Leave Hulk alone! Hulk maybe just thunderclaps and just kind of blows, pushes Kenpachi back. But Kenpachi's like, oh, you got some power. Let's dance. And they go toe to toe. Now Kenpachi does strike and thoroughly cut Hulk. I have no reason to believe Kenpachi couldn't cut Hulk. Hulk just and then just suddenly punches Kenpachi straight into a building. No like sword man. Oh, you got some strength, buddy. Let's go. And then they just start clashing with each other. Unfortunately, no hit Kenpachi is laying on the Hulk is really doing any lasting damage. All he's doing is pissing off Hulk more. And unfortunately, in a battle of attrition, as tough as Kenpachi is, Hulk's going to beat a battle of attrition. So these guys are just going toe-to-toe, back and forth. Eventually, Hulk starts beating on Kenpachi. You make Hulk angry. Go away! And then Kenpachi is like, actually is able to catch the punch. Again, low base level Hulk or low level like anger Hulk, like just initially getting angry Hulk. Kenpachi is actually, I think, relatively in that ballpark in terms of super strength. Farther down the road, Hulk? No, Kenpachi gave it. But let's catch the Hulk's punch. Hulk seems like, it's like, and then just straight down, like just cleave. Well, not cleaves, because that would be Shikai. Just takes his sword straight down into Hulk. Unfortunately, Hulk's muscles are so thick that he just kind of gets stuck, and Hulk and just grabs Kenpachi. And it's like, you're something special, Green Man. Hulk smash, drink, Nozarashi, and then he just activates Shikai in Hulk, which splits Hulk basically like his arms. No, Hulk's just now in unbelievable pain. He kind of just puts it back in there, and heals like, now let's dance. And, he even takes his eye patch off, and now they're going full toe-to-toe. In terms of power output, and again, I gave the roughest of estimates for Kenpachi's power output, so I'll be completely okay if someone's calling me bullshit on that one. I won't argue with that. But I do think it is somewhere in that holy shit area of power. Kenpachi, with eye patch off and Shikai activated, goes toe-to-toe with Hulk, and Hulk tries to stop the blade, but it just takes his hand clean off. Kenpachi then just keeps slicing up the Hulk now, actually taking limbs off, cutting him up. Just, is that all you got? Seriously. I thought I had found someone I could actually go full out, and I guess not. Goes to get his eye patch. All of a sudden, he hears some movement. He sees the Hulk growing his limbs back, and regenerating. Hulk smash! Now that's what I'm talking about. And they go toe-to-toe again. Unfortunately, as durable as Hulk is, Kenpachi's still going to be able to cut him up and probably cleave him in two more than one time. He's just going to keep getting back up. Unfortunately, also, this is a scenario where I think Hulk's healing factor, if he's not careful, could be completely overtaxed. Because Kenpachi's able to do severe freaking damage to him. So, and the real thing here is this. While I don't think this is going to be the majority of the times, I do think it's a very, if we're talking percentage-wise, 60-40. Kenpachi cleaving the Hulk straight in two, including his brain, I don't know if Hulk recovers so easily from that, because we don't know for certain how the Hulk would handle having his brain severely damaged. We don't know if it's on the same level as Wolverine, where if you damage his brain, you might actually legitimately kill him. But at the same time, Hulk's regenerated from being eaten alive too. So yeah, it's a pretty it's a pretty hard thing to say. But anyway, Kenpachi brings it down. At this point, Hulk, I don't think is going to be afraid of Kenpachi, but Hulk is very aware this guy's strong, and he is probably avoiding any hit that might actually be detrimental to him. Like, again, avoiding maybe a head hit. That's why I'm saying 60-40% of the time when it happens. Because Kenpachi's still a seasoned warrior, a master swordsman, could easily get that cleave. But I think the Hulk is now aware of, like, I can't let him hit my head. So, still, Kenpachi's cutting him up. He is literally pushing him to the brink because Kenpachi's able to move fast enough, is strong enough, and has enough power to continually cleave him in half, dismember him, all of that. But Hulk is still getting madder and madder. So Hulk is still able to, punches, gets cut through, but the punch keeps going. It actually hits Kenpachi. Hulk finally is all pieced back together, goes and starts to crush Kenpachi, grabs Kenpachi, bear hugs him. Even with all his energy, Kenpachi's struggling down. Hulk crush, Swordman! Kenpachi just says, I still haven't perfected this. But I guess I don't have any choice, do I, huh, green guy? And even Hulk's just like, Bankai! And he basically just activates his Bankai. And it's still not clear what actually his Bankai does. We know it turns him into this Oni Kishin kind of thing. We know it pretty much is pure power beyond even his Shikai. But what it actually does isn't actually stated. My best theory on it is that all of his power, even the guy he fought noted that his energy didn't really go up that much. It still went up, it didn't go up that much. I think all of his power, instead of like the ratio, like the amounts of energy he bursts out and all that, I think it's all now completely contained in his body. And it's like kind of like putting the a stopgap on it. The pressure just builds and it's just trying to get out. That's why he just gets so much stronger. So he basically just breaks Hulk's hold. Kishin Zaraki versus Hulk. They go toe to toe. Again, Hulk's healing factor at this point is probably actually getting worn out just by how much damage is being done to him so quickly, so fast. Eventually, though, and this is where, and because I know a lot of people are probably getting on, because it's not about how strong Hulk is or how strong Zaraki is. As much as I love Zaraki, and I do think there's ways he wins. Like, again, I do think he could frankly tire out the Hulk. I mean, as long as he doesn't go to World Breaker, which I'll quickly address after this. I think he could literally tire out the Hulk and then basically win the fight that way. I do think he could do that. But the problem is if he goes Bankai without knowing that he's perfected, I could have made him have at least a Bankai where he didn't hurt himself. But in this case, we're using it where eventually it will overtax his body. Eventually, Zaraki's arm breaks and Hulk sees, and then and he just starts wailing into Zaraki. However, Zaraki is still able to survive from that and basically grabs him one last time with his good arm. Throws him to the ground, grabs his blade, and then just takes his head off. And then walks away. And then, it just kind of like, that was a good fight. And walks away. But Hulk's head grows back. However, Hulk is now extremely tired. Both these guys are exhausted at this point. Basically just like, and Zaraki they both look at each other and say, you want to go again? No! Hulk, no, what? Fight! Leave Hulk alone! Fine, you win. Fine. It was a great fight. Who ultimately won the fight? I'll be honest, I think it's kind of a draw, quite frankly. Because I do think Kenpachi would eventually go for the head, and unlike Thor, succeed. But Hulk can regenerate his head, but unless you take out his brain, and again, I don't know the case when talking about taking out his brain. So, it's really a matter of how do you perceive who wins the fight. Ultimately, I'm going to say Kenpachi wins the bout, but if the fight keeps going beyond the point where, because we got to factor the personalities into this too. If the fight goes beyond, Hulk regrowing his head, I think the Hulk would ultimately pull out the win. But Kenpachi is one of those characters I think actually could overtax Hulk's healing factor. I actually think he could. Now, if we're talking World Breaker Hulk very quickly, in terms of sheer power, no, I don't think there's any way not anyway. I don't think Kenpachi could get close enough to really do much against World Breaker Hulk. Granted, in his Bankai, he's so strong and fast, he can actually literally cut you from a distance without having a blade that extends. And he literally cut a giant in half doing that. So he might be able to hurt the Hulk. And again, his energy output is something that's probably comparable to the Hulk at that point. Absolutely. But World Breaker Hulk is a guy who, and again, don't give me the whole he punched through the negative zone. Kenpachi sliced through a freaking space itself, okay? He was literally put in a pocket of space dimension and cut through that. Same time. It's basically the same thing. So, if it's World Breaker Hulk, I will give the edge to World Breaker Hulk. If it's just Hulk not able to go into World Breaker without that emotional catalyst versus Kenpachi, I'm going to say that if the fight goes on long enough, Hulk will eventually win, provided his healing factor doesn't get taxed out. But I think Kenpachi being the superior warrior and actually having overall just more energy and therefore power ultimately, until Hulk gets to a certain level, wins the fight ultimately, or wins the bout. If the fight continues past him regrowing his head, I think Hulk probably wins. But again, it's a really weird scenario here in that sense, because Kenpachi literally is the Hulk of his world, more or less. Minus the fact he doesn't get stronger when he gets angry. It's more like you dish out more pain, he gets stronger. But he's essentially the Hulk of his world. So, and again, taking these characters out of their own universes and putting them into one battle arena, very debatable how it ultimately goes down. But again, just to sum it up, Kenpachi versus MCU Hulk, Kenpachi completely kicks the crap out of MCU Hulk. Kenpachi versus World Breaker Hulk, while I can kind of see a way of Kenpachi win, I'm ultimately giving that the World Breaker Hulk. Kenpachi versus just main continuity Hulk, if the fight goes on long enough, Hulk will win. But I think Kenpachi will win before it gets to the point where Hulk is that jacked out. And again, I feel like Kenpachi is someone who can actually tax Hulk's healing factor out. Or burn it out. Not burn it out, but overtax it. This is probably the longest Who Would Win I've ever done. Just because I had to go over so much information about these guys. Ultimately, though, who do you think wins? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I'll be back tomorrow with a Lantern Corps video. Plus, I got to record my what if for tomorrow, on Wednesday for tomorrow. I know I'm going to get people who are going to bitch at me he's like, Hulk is going to do this, and Hulk is going to do that. Kenpachi going to do this, Kenpachi going to do that. There's no way. Dude, Hulk curve stomps. Look, if you're going to give me your reasons why one is better than the other, actually give me reasons. Just don't say someone's better. Give me reasons why they're better. And ultimately, it's my opinion. So, that's fine. If you got an opinion, that's cool too. Until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Later.